Have you ever wondered how you're supposed to know when you've actually hit the point of being healed? When you're ready to engage in either looking for a new relationship or moving into a healing space in the relationship you're already in? And how are you supposed to know, right? Everyone talks about, oh, well, have you done the healing work? Are you healed? So today I want to just really shed some light on what that means, what it looks like, and how to measure that so that you can know how to approach this in your own life and how to stop playing this sort of mental guessing game about whether you're ready or not, or capable or not, or how to even know what that looks like in someone else. So I want to dive all the way into that today. And if you're new here, I'm Ketra Thompson, and I'm a certified master hypnotist and a life recovery coach focusing on relationships and attachment styles so that I can help my clients reframe subconsciously the beliefs that are driving their unwanted behaviors or that are blocking them from having the connections that they want in life. So I do that through custom hypnotherapy programs. You can learn all about that in the link in the description below. And you can also set up a completely complimentary consultation call so that you can ask all the questions that you have and I can help you get some clarity. So you will find that link down there as well. And before we dive in, I'd also like to remind you to please click like and subscribe so you can be notified every time I post a new video. So let's talk a little bit about what dysfunction and insecure attachment really looks like. Because the thing about dysfunction in a relationship is that it's being driven mostly from your childhood programming and some significant life experiences that are contributing to the way you relate to other people, which is very much related to your attachment style. So when someone is really not in a space to grow with someone, you might see things like they're really easily triggered, or you might be easily triggered. You might have this ongoing negative narrative where you're keeping tabs mentally on all the things that this other person has done so that you can justify not treating them well. This person who is really dysfunctional is probably someone who has a lack of introspection, where they aren't really reflecting on the part they play or what they're contributing to the dysfunction. And they like to play the blame game. So they like to get the spotlight off of them and onto the other person without that balanced effect of, hey, what am I contributing here? Or let me see what's going on inside of me. They also really can't handle or navigate negative conversations or things that seem to be heated subjects. They avoid, or they get really explosive, and they don't seem to have a lot of capacity to handle those conversations, so nothing ever really gets resolved. It just gets avoided, or the subject gets changed so many times that you never get an answer back about the thing that you have a concern over. So these are some signs of dysfunction. And if you're seeing these in yourself or in someone else, it's probably a pretty good indication that either you aren't ready to really navigate a relationship with someone or the person you're with isn't ready. Now, that's not taking into consideration whether or not you or the other person is willing to learn how to do it. And if you are, that's a great place to be. So those are some indications of what isn't a good sign, really. So let's look at what is a good sign. Let's look at what internal healing actually looks like, and when you can know that you've done some work to move toward these things, or the person that you're with has done some work to create safety here. So real healing internal work, it makes us braver in the world. And the reason it makes us braver is that we feel safe and secure in ourselves. We have a realization of our past experiences. We've created a narrative that says, hey, I learned from that. I got wisdom from that. I know better now what to do and what not to do. And at the very least, I survived it. So we have this narrative that says, I've gotten through everything that life has thrown at me to this point. I'm good. I'm fine. I can handle whatever comes without trying to control everything around us to keep ourselves safe. So we have this feeling of being braver in the world. And that goes hand in hand with self-acceptance, which is really the next sign of that, where we aren't being arrogant like, I'm good, I don't need to work on me. What we're doing is we're going, I'm good because I accept that I'm not perfect. I know I'm human. I know that I'm going to have mistakes that I make. I have some flaws. I'm going to accept myself and my humanity without ignoring the fact that some of those flaws probably impact people around me and I can keep working on them. So it's this coupling of humility and self-acceptance. And when those two come together, you really have a calm sense of self-worth about yourself. The other part of that is accountability, right? That humility comes with accountability. So when we know that we do need to be accountable to the people in our lives that we've committed to, that we have made agreements with, that we rely on in an interdependent way, because accountability matters. Keeping our word matters. Living in our own integrity matters. So people who are kind of lying to themselves and the world around them, they don't usually have a lot of integrity. They are changing their mind or creating a narrative that says, well, so what if I do this because this person's awful anyway? And they're not living in integrity. I've had several clients that have been privately deconstructing their faith, but still really involved in their church in the leadership capacity. And they are tormented inside because they are out of integrity, right? Or they've had a deep secret from their spouse, maybe some level of infidelity, hidden porn use, other hidden things that they really eat you up inside. So sometimes you create a narrative that gives you a reason to do this without feeling so much guilt, but you know that you're out of integrity. And so you can't be existing in this self-acceptance coupled with this humility and accountability if you aren't in integrity. And so when you're in integrity, it's much easier to function in the world in a way that you can be calm and relaxed because you know you're good. You know you're okay. You know you're not hiding anything or wearing a mask. And so all of this creates a capacity to stay in uncomfortable situations. It creates a capacity to have the difficult conversations. It creates capacity to work through the disagreements. Because believe it or not, those disagreements and those hard, tough conversations, that's actually where you bond more. That's actually where you're creating more depth and intimacy and resilience in your relationships. And so if you avoid them altogether, you're also avoiding depth and growth in yourself and in the relationships. So once you have this centered sense of self where you're braver in this world, it really gives you the capacity to believe that you can handle whatever comes at you. Even if you have to take a break, even if you have to take time to process it, you actually have the capacity to handle it instead of being so at your capacity limit with no ability to process these things that any hard conversation derails you. Having the capacity is really important for creating a healthy and safe dynamic inside of a relationship. So I want to talk a little bit about how you can really get to the root of these issues so that you can do these things. First of all, I want to mention that we can never get to the point of really having full capacity and healing on our own. We aren't meant to do it that way. We are created to be really connected beings. We're tribal. We're meant to be in connection and have attachments. And so we can think we worked on ourselves all of this time, and then we get into a relationship and all of a sudden those triggers and wounds come back up and we think, oh, this must not be the right person. And maybe it's not. But at the same time, there's nothing in life that's going to trigger you like your intimate partner. That is the person that you will be more vulnerable with on every level in your lifetime. And so they're going to be your mirror. They're going to reflect back to you things that you didn't see in yourself, that you need to address and work on. So I never want to say to someone, you should never be in a relationship until you've healed all the things, because it's literally impossible to test that healing until you're in that relationship. And then you've got some more refining work to do. But the beauty of the hypnotherapy process is if we have awareness of these issues and we can identify the patterns and we know what those feelings we don't like are, we can address that on a subconscious level so that you can reframe the belief system that's driving the triggering behavior, that's causing the shutdown, the withdrawal, the reactivity, all of the unwanted feelings. So you can address them on a subconscious level and you can get a huge amount of traction in a shorter amount of time, in just a matter of weeks, instead of kind of clawing your way through this for years and years, which is what I hear from so many of my clients. Most people will say, I have been doing regular talk therapy for years, 5 years, 7 years. Like I know it all. I've read all the books. I know the things, and I didn't feel any different until I did this deep subconscious work, because we don't have access to the subconscious mind unless we are in a hypnotic state where we actually can do that reframing. And most of the time when we're in that state on our own, we don't have the clarity to do the reframing. And so it's just an incredible process. So of course, that's what I recommend, right? I recommend you do the deep work. And there's always some pre-work that you can do. There's always some things you can do on your own. And one of the things that is really important, actually 3 things I'd say, is really important to reframing some of this stuff, is that you can calm your nervous system. Once you can calm your nervous system, now you have a little more capacity to address what's going on the inside of you. And that is a really big deal. The next thing you can do proactively is you can take a time out and you can come back once you've calmed your nervous system, once you've regulated your emotions, and you can deal with the situation without being totally avoidant of it and trying to sweep it under the rug. So that is a really good step toward moving towards secure attachment and really moving into letting go of the old patterns of how you used to function and into something more functional. And the next thing you can do is you can stop your negative self-talk. So most of us have had really bad negative self-talk where we're kind of bullying ourselves and we may not even know it because it's always been running in our mind. But once you have awareness of it, you stop the negative self-talk and you tell yourself the truth. The truth is, I'm human, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm going to be patient with myself. The more patient and understanding you are with yourself, the more patient and understanding you're going to be with your partner. And that is a really big deal. So those are all really practical things that you can do. And I do all of this integration work with my clients, teaching them how to regulate their nervous system, how to regulate their emotions, how to communicate effectively so that they can really integrate this into their life. And it's so much easier once we've already reframed the belief system underneath the triggering feeling. So once we deal with that, now we have awareness and we can integrate these new patterns of behavior so that you can actually change how you show up in your relationships, starting with your relationship to yourself and extending into the relationships in your life. And hypnotherapy just speeds up that process, especially when it's a very holistic process like the one I do. We're of course addressing it on a subconscious level, and of course we're reframing that. But in addition, we're also letting go of attachments we've been hanging on to. We're peeling back the layers of all the things that we have really lied to ourselves about over the course of our life. And then we're embodying this new way of being and integrating these new steps so that we can create better, healthier connections in our life. Now, no one's going to be perfect, but you want to get to a place where you have enough awareness and capacity that you can hold space for someone else. And you really probably want a partner who has enough awareness that they can hold capacity for you as well, that they can hold this space, that you can both be curious about each other's experience and not judgmental, creating a narrative. So I hope that really helps you have a little more clarity, a little more awareness about what's going on inside of you and what it looks like in dysfunction versus functional. And when you're both willing to grow and learn, that is the best recipe for success. because we're human and we're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. But we want to have the willingness to learn from those mistakes and not just say a flippant "I'm sorry" and sweep it under the rug. We want to be able to actually create change so that the next time goes a little differently. So again, if you'd like to learn more about this process, check out that link in the description below. And as always, until next time, I hope you're curating a life by your own design.